Hey guys, it's Raul again, and today I'll be sharing with you my January and February wrap-up. Now in January, I ended up not doing a wrap-up because I only completed one book in January, and I felt like, what was the point in doing a wrap-up for just one book for the month, so I ended up lumping it in with February's also. So in total, I read 5 books. I haven't been, really stressing out about reading tons of books now that I'm done with school, because I just want to focus on other things as well. I want to, play video games and watch movies and binge stuff on Netflix and spend time with my wife, and that's what I want to do. That's what I feel like doing, so I'm not going to stress myself out about needing to read tons and tons of books. Now, the first book and only book that I finished in January was Bits and Pieces by Jonathan Mayberry. This is the 5th book in the Rotten Ruin series. For those of you who don't know, Rotten Ruin is kind of like a YA version of The Walking Dead. So if you guys like zombies and stuff, you're probably going to end up liking this series. But book 5, I had some issues with book 5 because this isn't technically a book in the series. This is kind of a compilation of short stories that take place in the world of Rotten Ruin. So it kind of jumps around in the timeline of the Rotten Ruin series itself. So there are, some stories that take place, before book 1 or between book 2 and 3 or after book 4. And it's just like, I just found it really, really messy. A lot of these stories took place or had POVs of characters that weren't part of the main story, which I just thought was just really weird at times. And it's just so weird to kind of, have loved the main series and then go into this one and experience kind of these little side stories and everything for some of the other characters that, some I really ended up enjoying and some I just didn't really understand why they were there, and just getting this kind of really messy short story compilation, which I don't know, I didn't enjoy. That's probably why I ended up only reading this one book in January, because I was so slumpy. It took me so long to get through this one. I was buddy reading this one again with my friend Di, because we've been buddy reading all of, the series and Jonathan Mayberry books and everything we're planning in the future. But yeah, this book I just wasn't excited to pick up. Every time I would see it, I knew I had to read it because of this buddy read, but I just wasn't motivated. I felt like Di also had the same kind of thoughts. We just both thought it was just very messy and didn't really end up enjoying a lot of these short stories. I don't know, just short stories are just, at least these were just weird because they weren't really doing much to add to the main story, and that's why I kind of didn't end up enjoying it that much. This is definitely going on one of my most disappointing reads of this year, because I only gave this a 2 out of 5 stars, which is very sad, because I gave, I think, almost every book in the main series 5 out of 5 stars or 4.5 out of 5 stars. So yeah, jumping into this one and only giving it a 2 was just insanely disappointing. The next book that I finished, or the first book that I finished in February, was The Passenger by Lisa Lutz. This is an adult mystery thriller that follows our one main character who kind of goes on the run after her husband passes away. Now, her husband passes away in a really weird way. He, falls down the stairs and breaks his neck and dies, and instead of her staying behind and kind of proving her innocence, she runs off, which makes her look a lot guiltier, even though she's not guilty of this murder. It was, genuinely an accident. But you're kind of guessing the entire time throughout this novel, is she really, involved in the death of her husband? Is it really her fault or not? Is she really telling the truth? Because she's really, really, really dedicated to hiding her identity, to getting new identities every time she jumps to a different town, she gets a new identity, and she's really adamant on not letting anybody find out who she is, where she came from and everything. So most of the book you're just super confused as to why is she running so much if she's not guilty of her husband's death. It's not until, almost the very end that you find out kind of what's going on and things kind of start to make sense. But for the most part, you're just confused and you don't understand why this person is running. And yeah, I ended up enjoying it. I mean, in the end, when things kind of click and they make sense, you're like, okay, I get it. I know why she's running now. I understand what's going on and everything. So I ended up I think giving this a 3 out of 5 stars or so. It just wasn't my favorite adult mystery. I don't know. It's just, this is weird. It's definitely middle of the road for me. And after that, I finished The Empress by S.J. Kincaid. This is the second book in the Diabolic trilogy, which the first one I read and absolutely loved. I will link a video review that I did for the first book down below for you guys if you guys are interested in my thoughts on that one. I'm not going to spoil anything from the first book, so you don't have to worry. You don't have to speed through this one. But this takes place in a futuristic world. It's a YA sci-fi that follows our main character, Nemesis, and Nemesis is a Diabolic. Diabolics are these kinds of cyborgs that are kind of ordained to protect their masters. So they're set with one person, they're ordained to one person, and they have to protect that one person at all costs. In this world, they end up kind of going a little bit overboard in trying to protect their masters, that they end up becoming illegal, and everybody is ordered to kill their Diabolics. Well, obviously Nemesis, survives. She kind of takes a different identity of somebody else, and nobody knows that she's a Diabolic, and then things kind of hit the fan after that. As the story progresses, she falls in love. There's this war going on between her and this government, which I absolutely love, kind of all of the politics and stuff involved, which I mentioned when I read the first book. I love the politics. I love this world and these characters and everything. So I was just pleasantly surprised when I jumped into book 2, because book 2 starts immediately after book 1. Like I said, I'm not going to spoil it, so it's kind of really hard to kind of tell you where it starts. But yeah, it starts immediately after book 1, which I really ended up enjoying. I didn't rate this one as highly as I did the Diabolic, because I think I rated this one 4 stars. Diabolic I gave like a 4.5 stars or so, because there are certain parts in this novel where they kind of jump. They do a time jump, and it jumps a few years into the future, and I understand why the author did it. I mean, it's definitely accurate, the way that the author kind of explains why there was this time jump. But yeah, I don't know. It kind of threw me off a little bit, even though I understood why it was going on. It threw me off because it happened twice within the novel. If it would have just happened the one time, I would have been okay with it. But making it happen twice was just weird, and then having so much change happen literally within a page from each other because of this kind of time jump that happened it just threw me off a little bit. That's why I didn't rate it as highly. But the plot itself and the characters, it just got so much better. Like, this book is so much different from the moment it starts to where it ends. It's so different. It is nothing like the way it started, and it's just awesome. I'm really, really excited for book 3. The author, I feel like right now, I heard she's kind of struggling to get book 3 done and finished and everything, because it's taking her longer to write it. But I'm just patiently going to wait until book 3 comes out, because I'm super excited. This is definitely one of my favorite YA series out there. Definitely, if you guys like YA sci-fi, I think this is a very solid book. It is very romance heavy, so if you don't like things that are romance heavy, I would probably stay away from this one. But I personally enjoy it. I love this world, like I said, and these politics and these characters. So I'm really excited to see where book 3 goes. And the next book I finished was The Fates Divide by Veronica Roth. This is the second and last book in the Carve the Mark duology by Veronica Roth. A lot of you guys know the controversy between, Carve the Mark and everything. If you don't, probably Google it. You'll see kind of what people were talking about when Carve the Mark was coming out and everything, and I kind of briefly talked about it in my favorites video when I actually put Carve the Mark on my favorites list of 2018. But yeah, this is the second book in this duology. It kind of, continues to follow Syra and Akos' story, where they're kind of trying to figure out this whole thing about their fates and the current and all of these gifts that are dawned upon them and everybody in this world and everything. And I don't know, I really enjoyed this one. I don't know if it's because I listened to it on audiobook and I loved the audiobook narrators. There are 4 different POVs in this one versus only 2 POVs in the first one. So you get 4 different narrators throughout this one in the audiobook, and they just do a great job at really bringing these characters to life and this world to life. And I really enjoy kind of where the second book goes. You have these 2 warring countries or tribes, and there's this kind of whole mess going on between the 2 of them. Syra and Akos are from the 2 different warring tribes, and they end up falling in love with each other, which brings a lot of issues and everything. There's this prophecy going on that one of them is going to die, by the hand of the other one. So there's, this is kind of what's going on. This is the main story, is kind of forbidden love and this prophecy and kind of trying to change the things and trying to change their fates and everything. And I don't know, I just really, really ended up enjoying this. I feel like a lot more than everybody here on BookTube did. I don't know. I just really liked it. I liked Veronica Roth's writing. I liked this world and everything that she did. And I really ended up liking how the whole story kind of ended up. I don't know, I'm just really, really satisfied and very happy with the series. I ended up giving this a 4 or 5 stars. I really enjoyed this one. And the last book that I finished in February was Murder of Crows by Anne Bishop. I finally finished this one. I started this book over a year ago, and just like slowly kept pushing my way through and pushing my way through this book, and I finally finished it. It's not because I did not like it. I absolutely love the series, and I love Anne Bishop's writing and kind of how she can absorb you into this world. It's just a little slow. It definitely is. I mean, this is one of those series where if you guys like kind of slower reads, I feel like you're really going to enjoy this one. This is more of an adult urban fantasy that follows our main character, Meg, and Meg is a blood prophet, so whenever she's cut, she gets visions of the future, and because of that, she's become this hot commodity. She escapes kind of this place where she's being held captive, and she seeks refuge with the others, who are kind of shapeshifters in this world, and there are tons and tons of different kinds of shapeshifters, which I won't get into in this video. She seeks refuge in one of the compounds led by the others and everything, and it's her story kind of trying to survive, trying to stay away from the people who are after her and everything, and I just really enjoy this series. This second book continues on right after the first one, where you have kind of, you know, there are certain events that happen in book one, and people are kind of still talking and reminiscing about those events, and, you know, new things start happening in book two. You know, people are still after Meg and still trying to get her, and they're looking for different new unique ways to capture Meg and all of the other girls who have this kind of ability, because she's not the only one who has this ability. These people, you know, there are tons of other girls who have this ability, and they're being used by the wrong people for kind of their prophetic abilities. So yeah, I just really ended up enjoying the series. It was definitely slower than the first book, so I did struggle a little bit at some points. There were some chapters and things in there that just I felt like it wasn't necessary to have all of these mundane day-to-day things be in there. I kind of wanted the plot to move forward at some points, and it just didn't. So that's why I didn't end up enjoying this one as much as I did the first one, but I still really love the series. I still really want to know what happens. I still am going to continue on with the series. I really love the series. If you guys love adult urban fantasy and you guys want something, you know, you guys don't mind anything a little bit slower and you want something different, definitely recommend this one, because yes, everybody I feel that has read this series has really loved it, and I can see why, because this is a great series so far. So yeah, guys, that is it for all of the books I read in January and February. Comment down below, let me know what you guys read. If you guys have read any of these books, please let me know your thoughts. I would love to know. Thank you guys all again for watching, and I will see you all next time.